Hey everybody, welcome back to Lucha Lore. We are here to discuss Lucha Underground Season 4. At this point, the last season filmed, and at this point we're really not sure if there will be a Season 5. There probably will be. I feel like there probably will be, but it still hasn't been filmed yet, so we have no idea when that's going to be. So this is the last batch of Lucha Underground for a little while, so let's get right into it. Are you ready for Season 4?
Yes.
So do you remember kind of where we left off last time, what the big event was that we finished off with Season 3?
Okay, so I remember there was this subplot about this police officer who went undercover to try to get the top guy, I can't remember.
Dario, yeah.
Dario, like, unseated or arrested or something.
Yeah.
But then he flipped. And then he went to Dario and said, hey, I'll work for you, and I'll betray the police as long as you protect me. And Dario was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then he ended up actually betraying him in the end, right? And killing him?
Well, okay, so a couple things are correct about
goodness.
that. So, yeah,
okay.
there were some guys that were trying to infiltrate Dario's operation. One of them ended up flipping and started working with Dario.
Yeah.
The guy that killed Dario, we didn't really know who he was, but you're right to remember that at the end of the season, Dario gets killed.
Yes, I remember that.
And also at the end of the season, Prince Puma was banished from the temple because he lost the title to Pentagon Jr., who had cashed in the Gift of the Gods title on him. So we opened this season.
Wait, didn't something also happen with Dario's brother?
Matanza?
Yeah.
Yeah, he, Rey Mysterio was, kidnapped by him, essentially.
Alright, so he, drug him down into the...
Yeah.
Into the underground and put him in the cage and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yep. So, we opened this season. Now, we have, resurrecting the temple in a different location. It's like this weird icy place now, instead of being in, warm Los Angeles in Boyle Heights. It's in this, mysterious... yes?
Why?
Because. And it's also run now because Dario's dead, right? So we need a new owner. And the owner is a guy named Antonio Cueto, who is Dario's father.
Ooh.
Who's coming. And we actually learned right in the beginning here that apparently Antonio Cueto was behind the murder of Dario Cueto. The guy that killed Dario, we see him talking to Antonio and saying, oh, good job, arranging his murder. The thing that's very strange about this, and fucking hilarious, is the guy playing Antonio Cueto is the same actor as Dario Cueto, just in a long gray wig. And, one contact to, blur out his one eye, and just carries around a cane. So, it's not even hidden at all. It's just, it's ridiculous. So, it's his dad. And honestly, for most of the season, I kept kind of thinking and feeling like Dario faked his own death and was pretending to be his own father. But that's actually not true. This is actually his father, just played by the same actor the whole time. So he comes in and
how lazy!
No, it's fucking amazing. Because then he comes in and then he does basically his best, Dario Cueto, as Antonio Cueto is doing, Dario Cueto doing his own Batman impersonation.
Oh,
so he just does, his really, gruffest, dark, he's like, oh, in my temple now, we will have the lucha. It's like that. It's just insane. So immediately he starts off the season as well, Pentagon Jr., you're defending your title in Aztec Warfare. Right off the bat.
Whoa.
So Aztec Warfare, if you remember, that's the match where there's 20 people, they all kind of come in, and it's
kind of Royal Rumble-ish.
Sort of Royal Rumble style, except instead of being eliminated by being thrown over the top rope, you actually have to get pinned or submitted. And every single time Aztec Warfare has happened, there's been a new champion. The very first Aztec Warfare crowned the first champion, and then the other two times, there's been a new champion. This is the first time ever that the champion retains through Aztec Warfare. Pentagon Jr. beats everybody.
Wow.
He doesn't necessarily pin every single person in the match, but he does win.
Still wins.
He outlasts everybody. And the last person in the match that he beats is Marty the Moth. Do you remember him, kind of the weird creeper guy who was stalking the announcer?
Yes.
So he's the last...
And his weird thing with his sister.
Yes, he's got the weird gross thing with his sister. So he... The last two are just him and Marty, and then he beats Marty, breaks his arm, raises up the title. He's Pentagon's just this is my temple, bitch. I'm the champion, Zero Miedo. So he's reigning high. Good things are going on for Pentagon. Then we have the Trios champions. Now, we saw at the end of Season 3, kind of at the last minute, we got thrown together the Mac, and then Killshot and Dante Fox. And Killshot and Dante Fox... I'm going to have to remind you. Killshot and Dante Fox were the two military guys. Like, Killshot was the dude who had, like, was a military dude we'd seen for a little bit, and then Dante Fox was like, you left me for dead and all of our dudes. And then they had their thing.
Yeah.
So at the end of the season, they were champions together.
Yep.
Now, at the beginning of this season, Dante Fox is just kind of MIA. We have no idea where he is. But Killshot and the Mac are still Trios champions, but they're only two dudes.
Okay.
So Antonio Cueto comes out, and then he's just like, I'm just going to appoint you a third Trios champion because that's what I've decided to do. So he calls out Son of Havoc, who's been the Trios champion a couple of different times because he was part of the Unlikely Trio.
Right.
And he just is like, he's your new tag team partner and he's your Trios champion now. So he just gives the title to Son of Havoc. So that he's part of their group now. And they defend the titles against some guys. And like they actually have some decent chemistry. They're all just good performers. So it kind of works out for a little bit. But it's a little bit weird. Like, Killshot is very, like, not super into it at first. He's sort of like, hey, who's this new guy coming in hogging the spotlight? Mm-hmm. But, like, he's good, though, so it works. At least for now. So then Pentagon gets to defend his title against Matanza because Antonio Cueto was like, hey, look, my son is this, crazy killer monster thing. And he is doing some more stuff with Matanza to try and, like, separate even further his son Matanza from the god that he, like, placed inside of his body.
Wait.
Yes.
What?
So, part of Matanza, like, the powers that he has and why he's so strong is, like, because he has, like, a god inside of him.
What?
In this season, we get a little bit more of the lore kind of gets to peel back a little. We get to see that several of these characters kind of have, like, it's understood that they're, like, Aztec gods sort of, like, incarnated, and Matanza is one of them. And so he's sort of, like, a very angry, evil god, sort of, like, Mil Muertes is sort of, like, a god of death. Phoenix is sort of that, like, god of, like, rebirth. Like, each of these sort of Aztec tribes, like, the sort of leader of their lineage, in a way, is sort of a demigod.
Okay.
And so, Matanza Cueto, the monster, is that person for the Cueto tribe.
Okay.
And part of the way that he's been that way, at least it's sort of alluded to even more so in this season, is that Antonio Cueto directly, like, did some ritual or did some dark magic to him to make him this way. So, like, originally at some point there's just little baby Matanza Cueto. Like, here's Dario, here's Matanza. And he's just like, alright, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take Matanza. Maybe he was bigger, I'm assuming. And then did this evil magic to him to, like, put the god's, like, energy and spirit into him. Goodness. And it possessed him. So that then he would be as powerful and crazy and shit as he is.
Okay.
So we don't really, like, know for sure whether, like, a similar situation like this happened to the other characters. I'm assuming maybe at some point. Maybe it's different for the different tribes. Maybe for the Cueto tribe it's, like, really bad and weird. But anyway, so Antonio Cueto in this season, now that he's got Matanza all to himself, instead of it being under Dario's control, he's trying to push him even further into just being completely possessed by the monster god and having zero element of Matanza left. Like,
oh dear.
No humanity.
Okay.
So then he's trying to push him to, like, alright, you gotta get the title back from Pentagon because, like, you lost the title and that's not acceptable. So that leads to the feud between Pentagon and Matanza. And the only person who had ever beaten Matanza ever before this was Rey Mysterio inside of Aztec Warfare. So it wasn't even a one-on-one match that he beat him. But Pentagon does the impossible yet again, and he beats Matanza. What? He retains that title. So,
man, I bet Antonio hates him.
He is not happy with Mr. Pentagon. He keeps, like, trying to throw as many challengers as he can at him. And we'll also see his fallout here with Matanza in a minute. But there's a really important match that happens here in Season 3 called Three-Way to the Grave. So Katrina is up to her usual tricks again. She's trying to, kill some people to get power with Matanza and whatnot. And she orchestrates a three-way match between Mil Muertes, the zombie resurrection guy, Phoenix, the other Death and Resurrection guy, his opposite, their eternal rival. And then Jeremiah Crane, sorry. The guy who was like in love with Katrina, that like weird punk dude, who at the end of last season, he used to be Evil-Lisa's boyfriend, but then like smashed her knees in with a hammer, like just a fucking douchebag. Because it was in the middle of Evil-Lisa and Katrina's match that he came and did that, so he helped Katrina win against Evil-Lisa. So now they have this three-way match because he's like yet again trying to like prove his love to Katrina and being like, look, I'm better than Phoenix and Mil Muertes. If I kill both of them, because the idea for three-way to the grave is 2 out of these 3 guys are going to die in this match.
Wow.
So he says.
Well, I guess that's not really too much stakes for 2 of them because they're kind of rebirth.
Right.
Like that's their thing.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So he's basically like the angle of like, hey, look, if I kill both of these guys, then you'll love me, right? And she's like, yeah, sure, fine. Be another sacrifice. I don't care.
Sure.
So they have this 3-way match. Mil Muertes kills both of them. Kills Phoenix and kills Jeremiah Crane. So Melissa Santos, the announcer who was like in the relationship with Phoenix, she is really sad about this. Obviously, her boyfriend Phoenix is dead, and this time he's like even more dead. Like he's even in a coffin. Like she goes to a funeral and everything. Like he's just dead. And we see the fallout from this.
Can you please label it again as even more dead?
Yes, like even more dead. And so then the other really crazy fallout from this. So from the death magic of Phoenix and Jeremiah dying, Katrina comes back to life.
What?
Because up until this point, Katrina was like an undead priestess.
She
was sort of like a weird like shadow, like unkilled, like a lich thing, sort of. But when Phoenix dies and Jeremiah dies through this match, Katrina comes back to actual life. Like she gains actual like her body back, and she's like, yes, I finally fucking done it. Like this was her goal all along. So she's like, yes! So then, to taunt Melissa Santos even more, after having just killed her boyfriend and coming back to life, she gives her this half of this ancient Aztec amulet that she before had thought that she needed to use to like come back to life. But she was like, I don't even need this thing anymore. And just like gives it to Melissa. She's like, fuck you. And then just leaves. So after that, we go back to Matanza in the temple. So not being able to regain the title from Pentagon, clearly Antonio is pissed. And so he is setting Matanza to a new task, which is just kill as many people as possible. So every single week, he comes out and starts doing just sacrifices to the gods, which means Matanza's going to fight you, and if you lose, you're dead. And you are sacrificed to the gods. So he just starts like basically clearing out like all the bottom of the roster, like all the guys that like they're not going to be using anymore. Like they're dead now. So he just starts killing people left and right. And so to jump ahead actually just a slight amount, some of the people he actually sacrifices quite a lot are the people from the Rabbit Tribe. Because, see, Paul London, he's at this point the only person we've seen outwardly definitely associated with the Rabbit Tribe. Actually, that's not true. We'd seen him come in with the other 2 tag team members, but they haven't really seen or done anything really that important. They're just kind of there with him. And the Rabbit Tribe are the dudes who are like very psychedelic and very trippy and weird.
Yeah.
And they constantly are just like losing matches because they're just not really focused on winning. And Paul London's starting to get a little upset by this. He's like, God damn it, I want to fucking win a match or something. And
somebody take me seriously.
And so he gets in touch with El Mascarita Sagrada, who's like the little midget wrestler guy.
Okay.
And it turns out that this guy is actually connected to the White Rabbit, who is like the leader of the Rabbit Tribe, like the secret leader.
Ooh.
So he shows Paul London how to go find the White Rabbit. So he leads them,
so
the Rabbit
take
Tribe.
all these drugs and go down this hole and...
Kind of, yeah, it's very ambiguous. But he leads him to this place, and Paul London meets the White Rabbit, but we don't get to see the White Rabbit right away. But, like, seeing him drives him kind of really insane, and then he picks up some sort of, like, I'm trying to remember what the fuck it is. I think it's just, like, a club off the ground. And then he beats Mascarita Sagrada to death.
Oh my gosh.
In front of the White Rabbit as a sacrifice to the White Rabbit.
Oh.
And he seems pleased by this, but then his 2 minions are kind of like, ooh. So then Paul London goes back to the temple, and then as part of these sacrifices to the gods, he starts sacrificing up his rabbit teammates.
Oh no!
So, Mala Suerte and the other one whose name I'm trying to remember right now, but I can't. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're gone. They're dead. He just sacrifices them to the gods.
Oh, goodness.
To, like, build up the rabbit tribe. That kind of pays off a little bit later, but basically that's his idea. He's like, okay, I can gain a lot of power by sacrificing all these people. But, like, he's not strong enough to do it himself, so he's, like, having this guy do it. So while that's going on, we also have the Reptile Tribe, and they are making war against the Worldwide Underground. This is Johnny Mundo and his team, Taya, and PJ Black the Darewolf, like, that whole group. So they're going at it, and the central sort of bit of this feud is it's essentially like two couples kind of fighting back and forth. It's Cobra Moon and her new king, Daga, and then we also have Johnny Mundo and Taya. And they've kind of just got a thing going back and forth a little bit. Yeah, you looked at your question.
No.
Oh, okay. So...
No, I just have this really hilarious mental image of like Ninja Turtles fighting biker gangs.
You know what? That is actually a very apt comparison. To put an actual cap on that, the big point in this rivalry comes at one point where Johnny Mundo, because like they're having a little bit of a tough time beating some of the reptiles just because they're so fucking big. So Johnny Mundo comes up with this ploy where he sends an invitation to Cobra Moon and Daga to go to the Reptiles Ball, which is just some sort of fucking event that he like made up, but they buy it. And so they leave their stronghold, and we see this whole fucking sequence where Johnny and Taya break into the lizards' castles, and they go into like their basement and whatnot, because like a lot of the people serving the reptile tribes are slaves, so they have these like extensive dungeons. So they go down in there and they find the Luchasaurus, who is like one of the
the what?
The Luchasaurus. That's not his actual name, but that's like the fan name that we all call him. He basically looks like, do you remember from Rugrats, just like Reptar? Just like a very, like he just looks like a Reptar cosplayer. Like he looks pretty bad. He's just this fucking dork looking dude. He's just real big and just like, it's like C-level movie bad. So they sneak in there, but like he's been built up as being very strong, even though he's like, you know, got an intelligence of 1. They sneak in there, and then all of a sudden Taya pulls out this giant ass sword and then cuts off Luchasaurus' head and kills him.
Oh my gosh.
So
how could you kill the Luchasaurus?
Because they need to get the advantage of the tag team feud. Because now at this point, then Cobra Moon doesn't have enough people for a tag team. Because it's only her and Daga. But then they see, because they kind of forgotten, there's another person down in there. Drago, back from last season, was captured by the reptile tribe, and he's down there and he's chained up, but he's got a level of sentience. He's still kind of like fighting against it because he has to be all chained up. And he kind of gives this look to Mundo, and then Mundo gives him kind of like a look back, but he gets the fuck out of there because they need to get the fuck out. So they get out of there after killing the Luchasaurus. And their feud intensifies. We're gonna get to them in a little bit, just a second. Going back to another tag team though, the trios, the Mac, Killshot, and Son of Havoc, who were sort of thrown together by fate because they needed a third partner. Things are starting to crack in that friendship a little bit because so they're starting to need to crown a new Gift of the Gods champion because Pentagon had it before and he had cashed it in to win the championship. At this point, they've been having a lot of those matches for like the medallions. So last couple ones that were getting determined, there was a 3-way match between the trios champions. Between the Mac, between Killshot,
and like they're fighting each other.
They're fighting each other.
Oh dear.
And the winner and the person who didn't get pinned out of the 3 would win medallions. The person who gets pinned would be the one guy in the trios who does not get a medallion. So that he does not get to compete for the Gift of the Gods. So how this goes down is that Mac ends up winning the match, but he pins Killshot, the guy that he had legitimately won the trios titles with before, not Son of Havoc, the newcomer. So Killshot is fucking pissed. So he was like, oh my god, like, I'm glad that you won the match, and I'm glad that you're going to get to compete, but like, you could have pinned Son of Havoc, not me. Like, this is bullshit. So he is
I thought we were buddies, man.
Yeah, he is bitter. And then so, to add another wrinkle to all this, right before the actual Gift of the Gods title match, there is a over-the-top match between all the contestants that are going to be competing for the Gift of the Gods. And there's a stipulation to this where the person who wins is going to get to pick one of the losers to then not be in the Gift of the Gods match. So the Mac wins this match, and then he says, Mil Muertes, you're out. Because, like, compared to everybody else, Mil Muertes is by far, like, the biggest threat in the field. So he's like, I'm not fighting you, get the fuck out, buddy. So Mil Muertes is just like, you made the biggest fucking mistake of your life, you piece of shit. That will pay off later. So we get to the Gift of the Gods title match. And El Dragon Azteca, who was the apprentice of Rey Mysterio, he was the one who came in to, like, avenge his master who had gotten killed at the end of season 1. He wins the Gift of the Gods championship. And a big surprise, and then he makes this big, bold proclamation. He's like, you know what? I got the Gift of the Gods title, but I'm going to defend it all the way until Ultima Lucha Quattro. And I'm going to be the Gift of the Gods champion going into Ultima Lucha Quattro, and that's when I'll finally cash in to become Ultima Lucha, like, Lucha Underground champion.
Yeah.
So he's just, like, laying it out, like, that's my thing.
This is what I'm gonna do. Okay.
And everybody's just like, wow, that's a ballsy proclamation. Okay, we'll see how it pays out for you. But speaking of other ballsy proclamations, we go back to the Worldwide Underground versus the Reptiles, because at this point, you know, Cobra Moon is pissed, Luchasaurus has been killed, but she is able to replenish her ranks through some death magic. And you remember Jeremiah Crane, the guy who was super in love with Katrina?
And who died in the
three-way to the grave? Yeah. So she uses some snake venom to bring him back to life as Jeremiah Snake. Yeah. So now he is a new guy, and he is completely under her control. So now she has Daga, who's like her king, who she had like seduced back in season 2. And then now she's also got this guy, Jeremiah Snake. So she's got her own new little army.
Oh my gosh, I'm starting to think that Lucha Underground has a very specific idea about women.
Well, there's a lot of complicated ideas about women in this series. Because we'll also get to it later, but, like, so for example, at this point, this is when, like, between season 3 and 4 was when the whole real life business with Sexy Star had happened, where she, like, hurt somebody in the ring for real. So, like, Sexy Star's not in this season anymore. So, like, basically our usually best female role model is no longer in the series. Eva Lise at this point is probably our best. Maybe Melissa Santos. We'll get to her a little more in a little later. But anyway, back to this feud. So we have Jeremiah Snake, who's been resurrected by evil temptress bitch Cobra Moon. So she's got her little arm, and then Drago, of course, is serving them unwillingly as a slave. So she's going hard back after the Worldwide Underground. And she ends up sort of tricking Johnny Mundo into the situation because she has all sorts of, like, untold magic powers. Like, she can clearly bring people back from the dead with snake venom, but she also can apparently grant wishes.
Oh, so she's also a genie. Okay.
Yeah. So she says to Johnny that she will give them one wish of their choosing if they beat them in a match. But if the Worldwide Underground loses, then Johnny Mundo has to become her slave as well.
Ooh.
So then Johnny's just like, yeah, let's do it. Fuck you. I killed your Luchasaurus. And so they set up a big match, and Worldwide Underground defeats the Reptile Tribe with the aid of Aerostar, who was the time-traveling spaceman and also one of the best friends of Drago. So he comes in and helps them because before the match, they had taken out one of the Worldwide Underground members. So Aerostar kind of helps to come in and, like, fill in the gap. So they beat the Reptile Tribe. The Reptile Tribe owes Worldwide Underground, specifically Johnny Mundo, a wish. And so then Johnny Mundo says, I wish for you to let Drago go free. To stunning everybody, and Cobra Moon's like, yeah! But Drago goes free. Like, nothing she can do about it. It's, like, binding, I guess.
Oh, goodness.
So Drago goes free. Aerostar is very much like, thank you for helping my friend. Like, this is, great. We'll help you in some sort of way. And Drago's like, yeah, thanks, buddy. That kind of, like, look they gave him in the dungeon. So they go off. They're happy. And then Ty's just like, you fucking idiot! Why did you do that? You could have had anything. Like, and why? Like, he was our enemy. Because back, if you remember from their history, back in season 2, the Worldwide Underground had the trios titles, and they lost them to Aerostar, Drago, and Phoenix. It's like, these guys took their titles from them. It's like, why? And so then Johnny Mundo explains, well, you see, Cobra Moon couldn't actually grant my real wish. Only you can do that, Taya. And then he gets down on one knee and proposes. Will you marry me? And then she's like, oh yes, I'll marry you. And she's so excited, and they're set to get married. It's so ridiculous.
It's so sappy.
Yeah, very sappy. So cute. But of course, Cobra Moon is very pissed, so she decides she is going to take those trios titles because after the whole Gift of the Gods nonsense, Killshot is going right after that title, and he's just like, you know what? Even though we've got a scheduled title defense against the Reptile Tribe tonight, I'm going to go ahead and try to compete in a singles match for the Gift of the Gods title match.
Oh, stupid decision.
He goes for that title, loses against El Dragon Azteca, goes into the trios title match hurt, gets himself pinned in that match, and then lose the trios titles to the Reptiles. Which is just, breeding the feet, because then Son of Havoc is like, dude, like, why did you fucking do this? Like, you knew we had a match. Like, what? You're an idiot. Like, you're stupid. Yeah. So, and then Killshot's like, well, fuck you guys. Like, so it's just starting to boil over. And Mac, normally the one to kind of like help sort of settle this down, is getting his comeuppance, because Mil Muertes is back. And he did not forget about being thrown out of that match. And so he has a haunted house match with the Mac, which is a cage match with all sorts of crazy weapons, including knives and stuff in it.
Whoa.
And so Mil Muertes is just like, beating the shit out of the Mac, like throwing him into the cage walls, taking knives and stabbing him in the head. Like, just a horrible bloody affair. And just leaves Mac bloody, lying out, destroys the Mac, pins him. Like, it's not good.
That sounds gross. Mac
is out for, we don't see him for a while. So Pentagon is busy because he is now fighting Cage, the I'm not a man, I'm a machine, the Swolverine guy. And it's sort of just like the other really big guy in the temple at this point. It's essentially like these guys have fought off and on, sort of like between the seasons. They've kind of like missed each other a little bit, and this is just sort of like a big dream match. So they have an intense hardcore feud. It's a lot of fun. Pentagon is really into weapons matches, and Cage is also just like a huge fucking brute. So that's kind of what that one's about. Not really a whole lot of intrigue to that, other than just
just two guys fighting each other.
Two big dudes doing bad things to each other. So then we get to Johnny Mundo and Taya's wedding.
Ugh, boo!
And they've got, oh my gosh, you would hate, their color scheme is like light neon green.
Ew.
Like, Johnny Mundo comes out in a sleeveless green tux with like a headband and everything. It's so bad.
Oh, that sounds like such a good bad wrestling wedding.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But the wedding is crashed by Matanza Cueto.
Oh.
And the thing is, it's like they had a lot of security at this place, trying to just keep out just in case anything was going to go on.
Yeah.
So this is really weird that Matanza Cueto got in and was able to do this. So we find out that Matanza Cueto was let in. And this is going to lead me talking to about somebody who I hadn't mentioned before, who's actually very important, mostly out of this point, before he'd sort of been in the background. Ricky Mundo is a character in Lucha Underground who, back in Season 3, joined in the Worldwide Underground as just, I am the #1 Johnny Mundo fan. That is his character. He is obsessed with him to the point where he changed his last name from, because he used to be Ricky Mandel. And then he changed his name to Ricky Mundo. And then he also changed his look, like dyed his hair, cut his hair, changed his look and everything, just to try and emulate Johnny as much as he can. So it's fucking hilarious. In this season, he ends up coming across a weird enchanted evil doll. Like a weird, like, pull string doll. But like a weird girl. Like, she's dressed up in a dress and it's like very dirty. And it's like kind of slightly demonic looking.
So basically a possessed toy.
Yes,
Okay.
a possessed evil toy. And the possessed evil toy starts telling Ricky Mundo to, like, stop serving Johnny and to, like, start murdering people and just, like, driving him insane.
What?
So all this time of being just, like, subservient to Johnny Mundo and playing second fiddle, and just, like, any time that, like, they needed somebody to, like, go do something else or, like, be the bitch in a match, like, he was the guy. And so all this time, like, is building up this resentment, and this doll is, like, exploiting these feelings. So it convinces him to unlock the door of the place and to go down in the basement and unlock the door to Matanza's cage to let him out. So that's how Matanza comes up and crashes the wedding, is because Ricky Mundo let him out.
With this evil doll. Okay.
Yes, because of the influence of the evil doll preying on his weak mind. So then the Mundo wedding is crashed, it's destroyed, like, Matanza comes in and throws them through the cake. Taya gets thrown through the cake, it's completely ruined. So then, out of kind of fucking nowhere, Melissa Santos is still kind of, like, grieving Phoenix.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And then we see Katrina just, like, attack her. And they're fighting.
Okay.
Like, they're just straight up, it's just like a fucking combat. I might be remembering, actually, maybe Melissa attacked Katrina. Anyway, like, the fight comes out of fucking nowhere. These two just start fighting. And we didn't really know that Melissa had, like, real martial capabilities up until this point, but, like, her and Katrina are just, like, doing some real crazy kung fu shit. This is not in the ring. This is also, like, in a random, just, like, abandoned building somewhere.
Huh.
So they keep fighting back and forth until eventually, of course, they fight to the roof.
Uh-huh.
And then through a crazy sequence of events, Melissa ends up kicking Katrina off the roof and killing her.
Oh, her hard-won life.
Yep. So Katrina's dead.
Uh-huh. Again.
No. Like, dead this time.
What? Oh.
Katrina's dead. And then, so Melissa goes down there, and, you know, she's, like, seeing Katrina's dead body and whatnot, and then Aerostar shows up, the time-traveling spaceman. So, then with Katrina dead, Aerostar shows up and talks to Melissa, and he explains that because she's dead, the death magic that was keeping Phoenix dead can now finally be reversed.
Oh, she got her man back.
Exactly. So he says, with the half amulet that Katrina had given you before, if you give me that, I can bring him back to life. So she does.
Oh.
Aerostar goes and takes the half amulet, does some crazy magic shit, and revives Phoenix. And Phoenix is brought back to life. He's reunited with Melissa. She's all excited, like, yay, we're back together. They're hugging, but then the camera pans in, and then we see there's something wrong with Phoenix's eye. There's, like, some weird shit going on. It's like a bug infestation inside of his eye or something.
Oh. Is it because it was only half an amulet that he's only, like, half back or something? Oh!
So,
okay.
We go, and now, finally, the friends are reunited. Drago was freed from the reptiles. Aerostar brought back Phoenix, so it's like the super friends. Yes, let's go get the trios titles. So they go to challenge the reptile tribe. And then Phoenix snaps. And he beats the fucking shit out of Drago and Aerostar and leaves them laying for the reptiles to pin. He's just like, fuck you guys, I don't care. I'm a psychopath now. And so, like, even Melissa's trying to, like, reason him with, like Phoenix, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you angry? Like, what the hell's going on? And he just, won't even talk to her, and he's just, like, fuming at the mouth, and he's, like he's fucking crazy. And he has, like, all black on now. And then he even, like, goes to the point where he's about to, like, hurt her. And so then El Dragon Azteca comes out, and he's like, whoa! You can't do that, man! I'm the gift of the gods champion. You can't hurt her. She's a nice lady. And then he's just like, fuck off, bro. He's like, I won't fuck off. So, they're getting a little bit of a tiff there. And then Marty the Moth finally comes back after having his arm broken by Pentagon back in Aztec Warfare. And he pays Antonio Cueto to get a match against the Gift of the Gods champion and as El Dragon Azteca. So he comes in, and actually this was right after, a little bit before this, his sister Mariposa had done the same sort of thing. She had paid Antonio Cueto to get a match against El Dragon Azteca. She failed. But Marty the Moth comes in, he's doing the same sort of thing. He cheats like a motherfucker, but he beats El Dragon Azteca. And it's actually mostly not even his own cheating. It's actually, ironically, weirdly enough, his old foe who comes to help him. It's Phoenix. Dark Phoenix, who isn't taking too kindly to El Dragon Azteca getting in his business with him and Melissa. And so he comes in and he beats the shit out of El Dragon Azteca in the middle of this match and just leaves him for Marty to pin. So Marty the Moth pins him and takes the Gift of the Gods championship. Then, through an insane loophole, he paid Dario apparently enough money that then, later in the night, Pentagon was defending the title in a three-way match between himself, Mil Muertes, and King Cuerno. King Cuerno, the hunter guy. So they're both coming at Pentagon hard, trying to get the title. It's this insane match. Pentagon barely survives, retains against both of these guys. But then Marty the Moth, the same night that he had won the Gift of the Gods title, cashes in the Gift of the Gods and steals the Lucha Underground title from a beaten down Pentagon Jr.
Smart!
With the help of a new mystery woman who comes in. We find out soon, the next week, as Marty the Moth introduces her, that her name is Reclusa, and she's like this spider bitch woman.
Reclusa.
And so she
like a brown recluse. Okay.
Yeah, like a brown recluse, exactly. And so then she reveals, kind of like pulling out of her pocket, the mask of Sexy Star. So apparently she killed Sexy Star or something.
What?
So like her and Marty the Moth must have killed her in the absence, so it's like how to write her character out. These people are very, very vicious. And actually, so then Marty the Moth, as the new champion now of the temple, he decides to defend his title very graciously against somebody. He gives a title match to his own sister, Mariposa. And he viciously destroys her, along with Reclusa. Like, he just beats the shit out of his own sister, making her bleed everything. Like,
Dang.
It's bad. It's gross.
Sibling rivalry gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's not a good time. So, another newcomer to the temple here who had come in and done some other things at this point. He'd beaten a couple people up, but the most important thing he's doing now is he's about to be involved in the Gift of the Gods title match. Is Jake Strong, who back in WWE was known as Jack Swagger, who's sort of just like he's like got a lot of amateur wrestling background. He's pretty big. He's like 6'6", I think, something like that. So especially in Lucha Underground, he's very big. As far as like the competition here. So he ends up having a match here against the two remaining Lucha friends, because now that Dark Phoenix has gone all rogue and whatnot, Aerostar and Drago are still buddies. And they team up against Jake Strong 2-on-1. And it's a nunchuck match. And Jake Strong is able to beat both Drago and Aerostar, despite, at one point in the match, Drago being up on the shoulders of Aerostar. So it's actually like two guys, one on top of the other, and they both had nunchucks fighting off Jake Strong the Giant. But he ends up separating them, beating them down, and then is able to win the match. But essentially the way that match goes is Jake Strong beats on you until you get a nunchuck, beat him back for a little bit, and then eventually he overcomes getting hit by nunchucks enough that he could withstand the pain. It was fucking insane.
Okay, that sounds like a match I would really want to watch.
But so then, capitalizing off of that, going into Ultima Lucha, he is competing in the Gift of the Gods title match, and there's this match right before the Gift of the Gods title match. So just like beforehand, there was everybody in the match is going to compete, and then whoever wins gets to kick somebody out. So Jake Strong wins the match of all the people who are going to be in it, but then he's just like, fuck it, I'm not kicking any of you out. Every single one of you be in this match. I'm going to beat the fucking shit out of all of you.
Whoa.
And then he does.
Dang.
He fucking wipes the floor and takes the Gift of the Gods title. He's just like, this is mine, fuck all of you. And the whole season, everybody he had encountered up until this point, basically too, if you fucked with him, he just broke your ankle and that was done. So he was kind of like the opposite of Pentagon. Pentagon breaks your arms, he breaks your leg. So he's doing that. The other couple of matches we have at Ultima Lucha is finally the Mac comes back after being stabbed in the head all those times from Mil Muertes. And so he challenges Mil Muertes to a death match at Ultima Lucha. And so this is also coming off the back of, so a lot earlier in the season, he had been shown by Katrina that it's like, hey, look, you remember Big Rick, your cousin, who like back in season 1 was like the big like mercenary dude. So like he was the cousin to the Mac, and she just shows him Big Rick's skull. So it's like he's got like death on his mind the whole season of like, man, my cousin's dead, and now he pissed off the death dude, and so now like he got stabbed in the head. She's like, I gotta come back for you, man. I'm not afraid of you. So yeah, he challenges Mil Muertes to a death match, and beats him.
Wow.
Mil Muertes up until this point had been undefeated at Ultima Lucha.
Whoa.
Undefeated, and he'd been beating, Prince Puma. He'd been beating King Cuerno. Like he'd been beating big names. And then last year it was Cage and Jeremiah. So he was not ready to fuck with, but Mac beat him in a death match.
Dang.
So at this point, because also Katrina's not around anymore, remember? So Mil Muertes being dead, he might be dead for a little longer than usual. Like he might just be dead. I don't know. So Mil Muertes is gone. At least for this point, we'll see. We also have a mask versus mask match because Killshot and Son of Havoc are both masked wrestlers. So their feud in the whole trios thing falling apart leads to them being like, well, fine, one of us is ending our career because I can't stand you existing. And so then, it's mask versus mask. And Son of Havoc beats Killshot, the one who was being the dick in the first place. So that he gets demasked. His identity is revealed. And remember, so his whole character was that he was like this soldier who had like escaped some sort of like crazy shit. So like if his identity had gotten found out, like he might get like tracked down and killed or something. Like who fucking knows? So his identity gets revealed, and so then he's like, leaving the arena and whatnot. And then Dante Fox, the guy who like a long time ago was like, you were the one that fucking left us, you betrayed us and all that sort of shit. He sees him and meets him outside on the way out of the arena in full like military garb, like formal military garb. Just gives him a salute. Like, kind of like a welcome back sort of thing. Like, there's a little bit more to it. Just, I think there's a lot to be implied.
Yeah.
I think as far as like he was kind of like running away from his past with this Killshot identity.
Maybe. And
then kind of like coming back and accepting a little bit of the past and what happened. Because like, also their feud last season was very intense as far as just like, I think there's kind of the element of like a guy feud as far as just like, I've beaten the shit out of you so much that like I can't hate you anymore kind of thing. I think there's a little bit of element to that feud. But then we also have, hold on, just checking. Oh my gosh. Oh. Of course. So Dark Phoenix is going to be fighting El Dragon Azteca because, he cost him the Gift of the Gods title match that he was trying to bring all the way to Ultima Lucha, and, he fucked that up for him. But he is just on a roll, not able to be stopped. Even El Dragon Azteca is not enough to stop Dark Phoenix, and Melissa is like trying to call out to him, like trying to bring him back, but Dark Phoenix is just
not happening.
It's not happening right now. So going out of this season, Dark Phoenix is still a villain, and a very scary one. Actually, really late in the season, there was a point where he teams up with Mil Muertes in a tag team match.
What?
Like, they're on the same team against some people.
I mean, that would have been pretty cool to see, I guess.
It was. It was a really good match. But yeah, so Dark Phoenix is a scary dude, and he just takes out El Dragon Azteca, like, no problem.
Dang.
We also have so in revenge for the wedding falling apart, we have Taya going up against Ricky Mundo, the little asshole with the doll and whatnot. She wipes the floor with him. It's not even close. Like, he's just a dweeb. So she kicks his ass, but afterwards, she finds the doll. And the doll starts whispering in Taya's ear a little bit. So she starts kind of getting some ideas, and she's like, oh, maybe like I should start being evil, I guess. I'm not sure. But
maybe evil would look good on me.
But then her husband is set to take out Matanza, the monster, in revenge for him destroying the wedding and whatnot. So Johnny Mundo's going up against Matanza. That's not a fair matchup at all. So he would have to kind of pull out every sort of trick in the book. Luckily for him, good karma pays off. So early in the season, when he had saved Drago and done that favor for Aerostar, Aerostar comes and gives him a huge gift out of nowhere. Do you remember the like crazy gauntlet back from like the last season where you could like punch and explode people's heads and whatnot?
Yes.
So the way this thing is talked about is essentially the idea is that you can kill a god with the gauntlet. It's like the god killer. So Aerostar gives the god killing gauntlet to Johnny Mundo.
Oh my gosh, is he gonna like punch the god out of Matanza?
So he goes and fights Matanza, and with the help of the gauntlet, he's able to beat Matanza in the match. And Johnny Mundo, gets this huge win over Matanza, but then Matanza kind of like escapes down to the sewers for a little bit.
Oh, of course he does.
And the gauntlet then, so Johnny Mundo gives it back to Aerostar, because for a little bit, so Johnny Mundo, he's holding on to it after he had beaten Matanza, and Aerostar's like, congratulations, Johnny, on beating Matanza and whatnot. Like, it was great, but, give me back the gauntlet. And then he kind of does the, like, Boromir, like, look at the ring, and he's like, okay. Like, he overcomes his nature. Like, he wants to keep it. Like, he's really, like, for a little bit, like, when he first gets it, you start to see the, like, inklings of, like, oh, shit, like, this could go real bad. Like, but he's able to overcome the temptation. He gives it back to Aerostar. And then Aerostar's like, you're a good man, Johnny. And he's like, no, I'm not. So he takes the gauntlet, he leaves, and then he gives it actually to someone else. So he brings it back to, there's a group of people called the Keepers of the Gauntlet. Or is what I'm calling them, at least. Because it's just like 3 random dudes who know about the gauntlet, and they keep it in a secret place.
Okay.
So Aerostar is the one of them. King Cuerno the Hunter is another one. And then also El Dragon Azteca is the third. So he brings it back to those 3, and they discuss about like where they're going to keep hiding the gauntlet. But then Dragon Azteca is like, hold on, I need to like use it for one piece of business. I'll bring it back real quick. So he gives it actually to Black Lotus, who was the like ninja assassin girl. And so then...
He was actually trying to kill Matanza in the first place, right?
Exactly. So he gives it to her, who tracks down Matanza in the sewers, and then she kills Matanza. Matanza is done.
Whoa.
And then she gives the gauntlet back to El Dragon Azteca, who then puts it back with the Keepers of the Gauntlets, and they seal it back away somewhere to use for future use in this, like, Lucha Gods war that's going on. I think that's... Other than the main event, that is all the important matches that happened. Other than... There's also a Trios title match, but it's kind of inconsequential. The Reptiles defend against the Rabbit Tribe, who now are very, very strong. So
right, because they've been like sacrificing people.
They've been sacrificing people. Yeah, Paul London comes back with the White Rabbit, who's like the just giant fucking dude, and also this little dude called El Bunny, who's like this psycho guy. And they're pretty formidable, but they're not able to overcome the rabbits. And there's also like Evil East puts together a little band of fun baby faces, but they also lose against the Reptiles. So the main event is Pentagon versus the Marty Moth, the rematch. After this son of a bitch came in and stole the title and whatnot. It's a Zero Miedo match, which means it's like no rules, like anything goes. Like you can use a barbed wire bat, anything you want.
Whoa.
So Pentagon destroys Marty the Moth, kills this motherfucker dead, takes back his title, reestablishes himself as the top guy in the temple. But, as seems to be kind of just like the new standard of the Gift of the Gods title now, Jake Strong comes in and cashes in the title against Pentagon and takes advantage of him being, very beaten up from this match and takes the title.
Oh.
So now Jake Strong, the giant dude, he's the Lucha Underground champion.
Poor Pentagon.
So then we see him with the title. He goes into this like limousine, and he meets up with Antonio Cueto, who's also in this limousine, and the guy who had killed Dario in the beginning of the season. They're all sitting there talking about just sort of like the fallout of things, like, oh, good, look, like, we got the Lucha Underground Championship, like, that's great. And then also we've got, oh, sorry, shit, I almost forgot, really important other thing, because Jake Strong gets his hand on the other piece of things. So the last meeting of the Keepers of the Gauntlet, Jake Strong ambushes them, beats the shit out of all 3 of them, and takes the gauntlet.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So he has the gauntlet and the title. He brings that into the limousine. And then he regretfully informs Antonio Cueto of the death of his son Matanza. And Antonio's just like, well, that sucks. Basically, because in his mindset, it's like, if he was weak enough to get killed, then I don't need him anyway.
Yeah.
So he's like, whatever, both my sons are dead now. I don't care. I'm in this limousine full of villains. So Jake Strong's there. He's got the title. He's got the gauntlet. He passes the gauntlet off down the limo, down to the end, to finally see the guy who was even above Dario, the one who was pulling the strings. It's Bad News Barrett. the guy from WWE. So we don't know what his name is actually going to be in here, but he does do a line of saying like, "I've got some bad news."
Uh-huh.
But yeah, he's like the British guy who like led the Nexus back in WWE.
Uh-huh.
Is now the big bad being revealed here in Lucha Underground, at least at this point.
Huh.
So he's the leader of this cabal who's been orchestrating everything behind the scenes. And now this evil group, they've got the title under their control, and they've got the Gauntlet of the Gods, which was the one thing that was like the huge other piece out there.
Yeah.
And then the last piece that we see in the end of the season is Aerostar kind of figures out a little bit of what went wrong with Phoenix. He suspects that maybe you do need both halves of the amulet to do a full resurrection. Otherwise, maybe they go evil or something. So he tracks down the other half of the amulet, and actually the policewoman who was orchestrating the investigation into Dario has the other half.
Huh.
And
How
so
convenient.
And so we, actually, I don't think I told you this bit, but we find out that actually her and Katrina are sisters.
Okay.
And that had been established before, like this was not just this season. But Aerostar goes to visit her, and then convinces her to give him the other half of the amulet. And this amulet was like part of what was keeping her alive, because she was also kind of semi-immortal because of this amulet. So she fades away. He has both halves of the amulet. And then he goes to Dario's grave. And then using the magic of the full amulet, resurrects Dario Cueto, who in the last scene of the season we see him wake up and say, "What the f-" and then it gets cut off right before And it's kind of alluded that Aerostar sort of hints that like he's kind of like seeing the future because he's the time-traveling spaceman.
Yeah.
So in some sort of way, it seems that he's sort of like seeing the future of the way that this lucha war is going to go down. And it seems like they kind of need Dario to win. I think is kind of the implication.
Maybe like a lesser of two evils type thing?
Sort of, and also like in this sort of Fallout scenario, like because Antonio Cueto had organized the death of Dario, and now that Matanza's dead, like the only other person that Dario cared about, like maybe Dario could kind of like be convinced reluctantly, at least at this point, to finally be like join up with the good guys or help them at least to fight his father. Like, so I think that's kind of the idea at this point, is that this is the turning point for the Antonio Cueto character, where he's going to be like a not a full bad guy, but now he's going to be the like unlikable dude who's sort of on the good guy's side reluctantly a little bit. But yeah, it's really turning up the insanity in this season. So actually, just to go over sort of at the end of the season now, we've seen the different methods of resurrection that are successfully used in this universe. We'd seen death magic used over and over again for resurrecting Mil Muertes and whatnot. Now snake venom was also used by Cobra Moon to bring back Jeremiah Snake after Jeremiah Crane died. Being Phoenix seemed to be a very viable strategy for most seasons with coming back from death, which I think is linked into being part of the Aztec ancestry, because both King Cuerno was killed in a death match, but then came back at some point with little to no explanation. And then also Prince Puma had died in a death match and kind of just came back without any real explanation either. So I think there is some element to be said that if you have strong Aztec ancestry, I think if you were the head of your Aztec tribe, then you may be a demigod or a full god of some kind. And that's part of why the Gauntlet of the Gods was needed to kill Matanza, for example. So I think that like if Matanza had lost a death match to Mil Muertes, he probably could have come back in a similar fashion without the Gauntlet of the Gods. So, but then also the half Aztec amulet has seemed to be useful, at least for resurrecting somebody, but potentially evil. As we've seen with that Dark Phoenix, but I don't know. Maybe that was part of why Katrina was evil. Was maybe she was only brought back with the half amulet or something.
Oh, maybe.
And then the full Aztec amulet seems, at least for now, to actually fully resurrect you, as seen with Dario. But you know, maybe Dario is going to be even more evil. But I don't think so. I think at this point, this is the like him having like in the biz, he's going from a heel to a tweener, which is right between heel and face.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's season 4.
Wow. I felt like things got real serious.
Yeah, there was a lot of intensity to this season. Actually, I think also similarly to season 3, this one is actually a lot more intelligently structured. They had a lot of like big stories that like it starts here and it ends here.
Yeah.
And there's actually like some stuff that pays off along the way. Like it made a lot of sense as far as a structured season of this show.
Yeah.
And it really pushed some of the plot things along, introduced a lot more things into the lore. This was a very important season for Lucha Underground. I don't know if everybody else is going to like this season as much as I did, but I feel like it was a pretty good season.
It does feel very world-building.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how they move forward, too, because they still will have a lot of the talents that they have now for Season 5 if that happens. But at this point, Season 5 hasn't even begun filming, to my knowledge. So it's going to be a while.
Well, there's no sexy star, so boo!
Well, at this point, nobody wanted her around anyway. She was a bad person now. But, so, with Lucha Underground at this point sort of being on a we're not sure how long hiatus, we're going to have to do a video about something else, I guess, if we're going to keep doing videos here.
Yep. Keep bringing me good stories. I'll keep watching.
Well, you know what, now that his career is winding back down to where it probably will be for the rest of it, I think I'm going to tell you about the story of Dolph Ziggler next. I think
Mr. Sparkly Pants?
Mr. Sparkly Pants himself. I think